My wife texted, "I'm moving out to focus on myself." After 2 months of her sister coaching her up, I texted back, "Smart decision," and locked everything down. She showed up a week later, wanting to work things out. All right, Reddit, strap in because this one's got everything you need for your daily dose of "thank God I dodged that bullet" content. We're talking manipulative sisters-in-law, midlife crisis mentors, and the kind of plot twist that'll make you appreciate being single. I'm Hunter, 29 male network consultant, and I just watched my marriage get nuked by a 33-year-old woman living in her parents' basement. Yeah, you read that right. But stick around. This gets good. 2 months back, my wife Chloe's older sister Roxy came crawling back to mommy and daddy's house after her third startup went tits up. This time, it was some wellness app called Mindful Me that was going to revolutionize self-care or some shit. It didn't. Picture this. One of those LinkedIn warriors who posts cringe motivational quotes about crushing your limiting beliefs, while literally crushing nothing but her parents' grocery budget. You know the type. Probably has CEO slash founder slash thought leader in her bio, while asking mom for gas money. Within a week, this chick was posted up in my kitchen twice a week for sister bonding time. Laptop out like she was running board meetings instead of scrolling Instagram from her childhood bedroom. I'd grab a drink and catch fragments of their little therapy sessions. You're settling, Chloe. Real partnerships support growth. Why should you need permission to spend your own money? Red flags. Bro, these weren't flags. They were flares shot directly into the sky. But I actually trusted my wife back then. Rookie mistake that'll cost you every time. The changes started small but followed a pattern so obvious Helen Keller could have seen it coming. Suddenly, our budget spreadsheet, which had worked fine for 2 years married, 2 years dating, was controlling. Our weekly money talks turned into Chloe parroting Roxy's exact words like she'd been reprogrammed. Chloe started acting like she was doing me a favor by even discussing money. Like I should be grateful she was gracing me with her input on our household finances. The entitlement was building, and I could see it in her eyes. She genuinely believed I owed her something just for existing in my space. Look, our budget wasn't rocket science. My network consulting income plus her part-time wellness center gig. Mortgage on my house. Bought solo in 2018. Utilities, groceries, her car payment, insurance, emergency fund. Split proportional to income. We'd been cruising on this system for years. Then the contractor disaster started rolling in. Chloe blew off our Tuesday appointment with Dave's Tile and Stone, which cost us a rescheduling fee when Dave couldn't wait past our confirmed 2 p.m. slot. Where was she? Some creative workshop that ran long. Right. When I brought up the fee, she rolled her eyes like I was being petty. It's just money, Hunter. Some things are more important than contractors. Already talking like my money was her birthright. The art supply spending kicked off in March like she'd hit the lottery. First purchase was this overpriced Winsor & Newton oil paint set, tubes that cost more than most people spend on groceries. When I asked about it, she hit me with that line about Roxy thinking she should invest in quality materials. "I don't need your permission for every purchase," she said with this tone. Next came a professional easel that cost what I charge per hour for network troubleshooting. Then brushes that probably cost more than my first car payment. Her credit card statements showed she was carrying a balance for the first time since we'd been together. I tried being reasonable here. Updated our budget to include an art fund, separate from her regular money. Color-coded shared calendars so we could actually coordinate instead of stepping on each other's schedules like idiots. Roxy's response the next morning. Requiring permission for artistic growth is controlling behavior. This woman was texting me relationship advice from her parents' basement. The freaking nerve. But Chloe was eating it up. She started looking at me like I was the problem for wanting to know where our money went. Like basic financial communication was beneath her now that she was an artist. The overnight studio session started 3 weeks later. Chloe claimed she needed uninterrupted creative time at this collective downtown, some converted warehouse where wannabe artists paid monthly fees to pretend they were the next Picasso. Roxy backed her up, saying real artists couldn't be constrained by relationship expectations. Here's what I learned later about this place. It was basically a pyramid scheme disguised as an art collective. Trevor, the guy running it, charged people $200 monthly for studio access, but most of the space was just folding tables and bad lighting. The real hook was his mentorship program, where he'd identify women going through life transitions and offer them intensive artistic development. Same boundary. Overnight sessions needed advanced discussion. Not permission, basic communication so I could plan around her schedule. We had contractor meetings, I had weekend calls, household needed coordination. She violated this 4 times in 2 weeks. Same pattern. 11 p.m. text saying she was staying late to finish a piece. But here's what really got me. She started acting like I should be thanking her for these little notifications. Like she was doing me this huge favor by letting me know she wouldn't be home. Each morning, I'd see Roxy's Instagram stories showing them at gallery openings with older dudes who looked like aging professors with serious midlife crisis energy. These weren't established artists. They were Trevor's network of divorced guys in their 40s. The expensive violation came in early May. Chloe attended a 3-day intensive creative retreat without discussion, causing us to miss Tony the electrician. Tony charged us for the missed appointment since he'd blocked out 4 hours. When I mentioned this cost, Chloe said Roxy thought I was prioritizing fixtures over her breakthrough. My art is more important than some random contractor, Hunter. You need to get your priorities straight. The final straw was Carmen's visit 2 weeks before everything ended, my mother-in-law. During dinner, she mentioned how proud she was of Chloe, finally prioritizing her calling over domestic responsibilities. When I asked what she meant, Carmen said Roxy had explained how I was holding Chloe back from her true potential. That conversation revealed the full scope. Roxy had positioned herself as the enlightened sister who understood Chloe's needs, while painting me as the controlling husband. But what really sealed it was seeing how Chloe looked at me during that dinner. Like I was some peasant who couldn't understand her elevated artistic calling. I realized I was being systematically undermined by a 33-year-old living in her parents' basement who'd never successfully completed anything. Instead of fighting or trying to convince Chloe her sister was running psychological warfare, I started disengaging. You know when you just slowly detach? Exactly. When Chloe brought up Roxy's latest theory about financial autonomy, I'd just nod and change subjects. When Roxy texted me her opinions, I'd respond with okay or understood. I stopped enforcing the overnight boundary and let Chloe make her own choices. Stopped reminding her about contractors. Stopped discussing art supply spending and just monitored our account balance. Basically, I shifted into documentation mode rather than intervention mode. And this was probably when Chloe started thinking my disengagement meant approval for whatever came next. She got more entitled, more demanding, acting like the world owed her everything because she was finding herself. In reality, I was just preparing for the inevitable when someone gets convinced their spouse is the problem instead of their own shitty choices. Tuesday, 2:15 p.m., I'm elbow deep in network maintenance for a law firm when my phone buzzes. Hunter, I need space to find myself as an artist, and am moving out to focus on my creative journey. This is what's best for both of us. Read it 3 times. Screenshot it. 2 years of marriage ended via text like she was canceling a streaming subscription. My response? Good for you. The junior network admin next to me glanced over when I chuckled. Everything okay? Yeah, just got some good news actually. Because honestly, that's what it was. Then I spent 15 minutes thinking through priorities while my blood pressure returned to normal. First call went to Ben Rodriguez, the attorney who'd handled my house purchase. Ben, it's Hunter. Chloe just texted she's moving out for her art career. What are my immediate steps? Your house is a premarital separate property, purchased 2 years before you met. You kept separate accounts, right? Mostly. Joint checking for household expenses, but she's authorized on my main visa. Everything else is separate. Perfect. Don't change locks until she's had reasonable time for belongings. Document everything. Save that text, photograph the house, keep all communications written. Ben walked me through the playbook. Screenshot and back up to the cloud. Remove her authorized access from credit cards, but don't restrict belongings pickup. Keep communication written. Offer reasonable pickup arrangements, but don't facilitate reconciliation discussions. One more thing, Ben added. I've seen this pattern before. She'll probably come back within a week, claiming she didn't mean it permanently. Don't get drawn into negotiation. Stick to logistics only. Smart guy, Ben. Wish I'd listened to him about the prenup, but hindsight's 20/20. Next, I called my credit card company to remove Chloe's authorized status. Authorized card deactivated within 2 hours. New card arrives 5 to 7 business days. Spent an hour updating passwords across all accounts and adding 2-factor where I hadn't. Banking, email, cloud storage, work accounts, utilities, insurance, everything got new credentials. Updated emergency contacts at work, removing Chloe and listing my buddy Zach. By 6 p.m., I'd sent her a formal pickup email. Available Saturday or Sunday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. for belongings collection. Confirm preferred day by Thursday. We'll have items organized. Chloe responded 3 hours later asking if we could talk first before pickup. I could practically hear Roxy coaching her. Make him work for it. You hold all the cards now. I replied with the same offer. Pickup window this weekend. Confirm by Thursday. No relationship discussion, no negotiation about the text, just logistics for collecting her stuff. She didn't expect that. You could tell she thought I'd be begging her to reconsider by now, sending long emotional texts about how we could work things out. Instead, I was treating her exactly like what she'd claimed to want. Someone moving out. When someone texts they're moving out for their art career, the practical response is facilitating their move out, not fighting to change their mind. Wednesday morning consultation with Ben at his downtown office. I'd printed everything. Text message, bank account screenshots, separate credit statements, deed showing sole ownership. Ben reviewed each document. This is straightforward, Hunter. Voluntary departure via written communication, separate premarital property, brief marriage, minimal joint assets. He explained the legal framework. File for separation immediately to establish timeline and residence. Temporary orders will maintain your exclusive residence since the house is premarital separate property. New Jersey recognizes separate property. What you owned before marriage stays yours unless intentionally converted to marital. Bopati. What about spousal support? Brief marriage, voluntary departure, she has income. Unlikely, especially since she left for a career opportunity. Property division minimal since you kept finances separate. Ben had handled about 50 divorces in the past 5 years, mostly guys who'd gotten blindsided by wives who decided marriage was holding them back. You're actually in a better position than most of my clients. Usually they come to me after their wives have already cleaned out joint accounts or racked up credit card debt. You documented everything and kept finances separate. I authorized him to file that afternoon. Keep all communication written. Don't discuss reconciliation. Stick to practical matters. One more thing, Ben said, sliding a business card across his desk. My buddy runs a men's support group downtown. Not therapy BS, just guys who've been through similar situations. Meets Thursday nights at the community center. Might be worth checking out. I pocketed the card but figured I probably wouldn't need it. My situation felt pretty clear-cut. Meanwhile, Chloe was clearly expecting different moves from me. Through mutual friends, I heard she kept asking if I seemed devastated or if I was handling this badly. Like she wanted confirmation that losing her was destroying me. When people told her I seemed to be managing fine, she got snippier. Sarah from the wellness center mentioned Chloe seemed confused that I wasn't fighting for the marriage or trying to contact her. Called Bank of America about joint checking, which required in-person visit since closing needed both signatures. Instead, I placed a temporary freeze requiring both holders to approve transactions over $50. Balance was minimal, mostly household money, but prevented either of us from emptying it impulsively. Updated work benefits through HR, removing Chloe as 401k and life insurance beneficiary. Changed emergency contact from Chloe to Zach. Updated health insurance to remove her as covered spouse. Thursday evening was a comprehensive inventory using the phone's camera with timestamp. Photographed every room from multiple angles, documenting her clothes in closet, toiletries and bathroom, jewelry on dresser. Moved through spare room where she'd set up art station. Easel, canvases, paints, brushes organized in containers. Her belongings filled about 8 boxes when I did the sorting. Created preliminary manifest in Google Doc, categorizing by room and noting purchase source where verifiable. For anything disputed, I planned checking credit statements and receipts for clear ownership. The house felt different that evening, like seeing it clearly for the first time in months. Without Chloe's art supplies scattered everywhere and Roxy's constant theorizing, it was just my space again. Quiet, organized, manageable. But according to Sarah, Chloe was getting more agitated that I wasn't reaching out. She apparently kept saying things like, he's probably just in shock, and he'll realize what he's lost soon enough. The delusion was building. Instead of traditional post-breakup Vegas weekend with overpriced drinks and questionable decisions, I stayed local and kept things simple. Called my best friend Zach Thursday night after finishing inventory. Zach, Chloe moved out via text for her art career. Want to come over Saturday for a reset session? Zach had been through his own divorce 2 years prior and understood staying grounded during relationship transitions. Absolutely. Want me to bring Tyler and Scott? Keep it low-key but get your normal crew together? Yeah, that sounds perfect. Saturday afternoon became exactly what I needed. Zach arrived at 2 p.m. with his Weber portable grill and cooler packed with burger patties. Tyler brought his folding poker table and chipset for Texas Hold'em. Scott connected his gaming laptop to my TV for Rocket League tournaments. We set up poker in my kitchen while burgers cooked on the back deck. Conversation flowed naturally. Tyler's wedding planning stress, Scott's latest difficult client, Zach's online dating experiences at 31. Normal guy problems that put my situation in perspective without anyone playing therapist. Document the timeline, Zach advised. Show you're handling this rationally, maintaining normal social connections, not having breakdown or dramatic response. Smart thinking from someone who'd navigated his own legal proceedings. His ex tried to paint him as unstable during property settlement, but his attorney had evidence of consistent behavior and normal social activities throughout separation. My ex pulled the same shit, Scott said, dealing next hand. Moved out to find herself with some yoga instructor, then got pissed when I wasn't devastated. Some women think leaving is supposed to be their trump card. Tyler, being the only one still in a happy relationship, mostly listened and asked practical questions. So what's your lawyer saying about timeline? Ben thinks it'll be straightforward since she left voluntarily, and we kept finances mostly separate. Property division should be minimal. Good call on keeping separate accounts, Zach nodded. That saved my ass too. You learn to protect yourself after getting burned once. The best part was having reliable witnesses to my mental state during this timeline. No excessive reactions, no angry rants about Chloe or Roxy, no dramatic declarations about relationships being pointless. Just three guys eating grilled burgers, playing cards for small stakes, arguing about whether Scott's bicycle kick goal was skill or luck. Meanwhile, Sarah texted Tyler that Chloe was asking around about what I was doing and seemed frustrated that I wasn't falling apart. Apparently, she kept saying I was putting on a show and that I'd crack eventually. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. Wednesday morning, 9:30 a.m., doorbell rings while I'm reviewing client network docs. Through the window, I see Chloe standing next to two suitcases with Roxy idling in the driveway, engine running like a getaway driver. I opened the door but stayed in frame, not stepping back to invite her inside. Pickup window is Saturday, 10 to 4. Sent details Monday morning. She looked confused, fumbling with keys. Hunter, my key isn't working. Keypad codes were temporarily restricted pending pickup. Full access during scheduled window Saturday. Complete rekey happens after pickup. I handed her the legal separation folder through doorway. Legal separation filed Wednesday. You moved out voluntarily per your text. House is my separate premarital property. She fumbled through papers, looking overwhelmed. Hunter, I didn't mean permanently. Just needed a few days to clear my head. Where have you been staying since Tuesday? Long pause while she looked back toward Roxy's car. With people from the art collective downtown. Which people specifically? Another pause. Longer. Trevor has studio space he lets people use when they need somewhere to work intensively. Trevor? The married guy with photography gallery? She looked away toward street. His wife Marissa was out of town visiting her sister in Philadelphia. Was? She came back early Monday night. There was some confusion about the situation and who was staying there. What kind of confusion? She thought, it looked like something it wasn't. Trevor was just helping with my artistic development and providing mentorship. The way she said it, like she was the victim in this situation. I kept my tone completely neutral. So you've been staying with a married man while his wife was out of town, and when she returned unexpectedly, she asked you to leave. It wasn't like that. Trevor was just providing guidance about developing my voice and connecting with the broader creative community. And now you're back because your artistic development situation became complicated. Interesting. Hunter, can we just talk? We can work through this. But the tone wasn't apologetic. It was demanding. Like she was graciously offering me a chance to fix what was clearly my fault. I pulled out my phone and opened our text thread, showing her screen. You said you were moving out to focus on a creative journey, and this was best for both of us. I respected that decision. Pickup window is Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Roxy had gotten out of the car and was walking up the driveway. Hunter, what is wrong with you? Don't be insecure. Sure. Saturday, 10 to 4. Chloe's face was getting red now. You're being completely unreasonable. I'm trying to work things out and you're treating me like some stranger. I closed the door and immediately drafted an email to document interaction. Pickup confirmed Saturday, May 18th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Items boxed and accessible in the front hall. Bring appropriate transportation for approximately 8 boxes plus easel. After pickup complete, locks changed to Schlago deadbolts and keypad codes updated. Through Sarah, I learned that Chloe was absolutely losing her mind, that I wasn't begging her to come back. She kept saying things like, he's supposed to be fighting for me, and what kind of husband just gives up like that? The delusion was getting stronger, ladies and gentlemen. Her mom called Thursday morning while I was organizing Chloe's belongings into labeled boxes. Hunter, Chloe says you're being completely unreasonable and forcing her to stay in expensive motels. Carmen, she texted me Tuesday that she was moving out to focus on creative journey. I respected her decision and offered pickup window for belongings. but she's spending over $80 per night at Extended Stay America. She can't afford that long-term on her salary. She said it was somehow my fault. Well, that's unfortunate. She created the situation when she decided to stay with Trevor while his wife was out of town. Complete silence on the other end. What do you mean, Trevor? Ask your daughter where she's been staying since Tuesday and why Trevor's wife Marissa asked her to leave Monday night. I don't appreciate your tone, Hunter. Roxy says you're being vindictive. I'm stating facts, Carmen. Your daughter is an adult who made her decisions. She can deal with it now. Have a good day. I hung up and returned to pickup preparation. No point extending conversation with someone who'd gotten Roxy's version and wasn't interested in actual facts. But the calls kept coming. First Carmen again, then Chloe's aunt, then even her grandmother. All with the same script. I was being cruel and unforgiving, and Chloe was just going through a phase. Each conversation revealed how completely Chloe had rewritten the narrative. According to her family, I had kicked her out and was now punishing her for trying to grow as a person. No mention of her moving out voluntarily. No mention of Trevor. No mention of her disrespect over the past 2 months. What really got me was Carmen's second call that evening. Hunter, I talked to Chloe about this Trevor situation. She says you're twisting what happened to make her look bad. Carmen, I'm not twisting anything. Your daughter chose to stay with a married man while his wife was out of town instead of coming home to discuss whatever issues she was having with our marriage. She says Trevor was just helping her with art connections. At his house, overnight, while his wife was out of town. Does that sound like professional networking to you? Another long pause. Well, when you put it like that, yeah, exactly like that. Friday evening. I'd spent week carefully boxing everything belonging to Chloe, using clear labeling and detailed documentation. Art supplies, oils, brushes. Purchased March 2024. Clothing, bedroom closet, personal items. Books, romance novels and art history, personal collection. Created detailed manifest with specific entries and supporting documentation. Art supplies alone filled 4 boxes, each clearly labeled by category. Professional-grade equipment representing serious investment, more than most people spend on hobbies in a year. Set up a doorbell camera system to record in continuous high definition. Also positioned phone on kitchen counter with video recording ready to document actual handover. Not for conflict, just legal protection in case disputes about what items were transferred or what was said during exchange. Confirmed with Zach, he'd be available Saturday morning as witness. He understood importance of having neutral third-party documentation, especially given Roxy's involvement and tendency toward drama. Sarah texted Tyler that Chloe was confident I'd break down and beg her to stay during pickup. She apparently told people she was giving me one last chance and expected me to come to my senses when I saw her in person. The delusion was complete. Saturday at 10 a.m. sharp, Chloe and Roxy arrived with a 10-foot U-Haul truck. Zach arrived 5 minutes later, parking on the street with phone ready to document the process. Handover took 90 minutes of loading. Started the timer and began recording with Zach photographing U-Haul's empty cargo area for before and after comparison. Every few minutes, Chloe would make comments like, I can't believe you're making me do this. Or, this is so unnecessary, Hunter. Like I was forcing her to move out instead of just facilitating what she'd demanded via text. Roxy kept making passive-aggressive comments about my coldness and how I was throwing away 4 years over one mistake. She kept trying to position herself as the reasonable mediator while completely ignoring that her coaching had created this situation. Disputed items phase required more careful documentation. Chloe tried to claim several items clearly mine based on purchase receipts. Kitchen stand mixer we used for baking together. I showed her Williams-Sonoma receipt from December 2017, 2 years before we started dating. Mine. Those glassware sets we got as wedding gifts? Wedding gifts stay with marriage. I'll pack them separately for you. For each item I wouldn't give her, she got more indignant. Like she couldn't believe I wasn't just handing over whatever she wanted. You're being so petty about everything, she said, when I wouldn't let her take a coffee table I'd bought in 2018. Hunter, Roxy chimed in, is this really the hill you want to die on? It's just furniture. Actually, it's about property rights and legal boundaries. Something adults understand. Having receipts and credit statements made most decisions straightforward. For a few items where ownership was genuinely unclear, I let her take them just to avoid extended negotiation. When loading finished at 11:20 a.m., she attempted one final negotiation. Hunter, 2 years married and 4 years together has to count for something. Can't we at least try counseling or mediation before making this final? She said it like she was offering me a gift, like I should be grateful she was giving me another chance. You ended the marriage, That was your choice, and you followed through. I made a mistake with Trevor's situation. I realize that now. Yep, too late. Roxy finally spoke up from beside truck. She's trying to apologize and work things out, but that's not what this was. This was Chloe expecting me to accept her back because she decided she was ready to return. No real apology, no acknowledgement of what she'd done wrong, just expectation that I'd be grateful to have her back. I heard her. Saturday pickup window is now closed. Goodbye, Chloe. The look on her face was pure shock, like she couldn't believe I wasn't falling in line with her script. She stood there for maybe 30 seconds, mouth open, clearly expecting me to change my mind. They drove away at 11:30 a.m. with U-Haul fully loaded. I immediately went to the garage and retrieved Schlager Reiki kit, spending next hour installing new deadbolts on the front and back doors. Through Sarah, I learned what happened over the following weeks. Chloe burned through savings within 3 weeks, trying to maintain temporary housing while paying storage fees for all art equipment. Extended Stay America was charging $89 per night, and she couldn't qualify for weekly rates without larger upfront payment. The storage unit for art supplies ran $127 monthly. With her take-home pay, math was impossible. But instead of accepting responsibility, Chloe was getting more delusional. She told people I was financially abusing her by not giving her money for housing. She said I was forcing her into poverty by not letting her move back in. She genuinely believed I owed her financial support after she walked out on me. The kicker? Trevor's divorce proceedings accelerated rapidly after the incident at his studio. His wife, Marissa, was a professional photographer who'd been documenting his pattern of affairs for months, waiting for definitive evidence to support her case. Chloe had apparently been the final proof she needed. Marissa had photographs, text screenshots, financial records showing Trevor had been using Art Collective membership fees to subsidize personal lifestyle while falling behind on studio rent. Multiple women came forward about his mentorship methods, once news spread through local art community. Turns out Trevor had been running the same scam on at least 6 different women over the past year. Always the same pattern. The Art Collective collapsed within 6 weeks when Trevor left town to avoid divorce proceedings and unpaid rent obligations. Several members lost deposits and had to find new studio space. Chloe moved back with Carmen after savings ran out, making a 2-hour commute to wellness center job until they inevitably fired her for unreliable attendance. But here's the best part. She was telling everyone who'd listen that I had destroyed her dreams and sabotaged her artistic career, still completely unable to accept that her choices had consequences. Ben filed for temporary orders in family court, establishing legal framework for our separation. Since Chloe had moved out voluntarily and the house was my documented premarital property, I maintained exclusive residence. No spousal support issues given brief marriage duration and her voluntary departure for career purposes. The discovery process took 60 days, during which Chloe's court-appointed attorney requested financial records and property documentation. I provided everything in organized binders. Zach provided written statement about witnessing pickup process and my rational behavior throughout separation. The decree was finalized 4 months after Chloe's original text. Standard no-fault divorce terms. Each party awarded their separate property, no spousal support due to brief marriage duration, and voluntary separation. Minimal court costs split equally. Total legal fees, worth every penny for clean resolution and clear legal protection. I celebrated by finally purchasing the motorcycle I'd been researching for months. 2019 Yamaha MT-07 from a local dealership. Negotiated price down from asking, using cash saved from not funding anyone else's artistic journey. New Jersey requires Motorcycle Safety Foundation basic rider course before issuing endorsements to first-time riders. Spent 2 weekends learning proper cornering technique, emergency braking procedures, and defensive riding strategies. Passed both written exam and practical riding test, earning motorcycle endorsement. The course was actually more fun than expected. Mostly guys in their 30s and 40s who decided they wanted something more exciting than minivans and suburb life. The instructor was a retired state trooper who'd seen enough motorcycle accidents to take safety seriously, but kept classes engaging with real-world scenarios. The local riding community welcomed me immediately through Central Jersey Riders Group. Saturday morning group rides through scenic back roads. Nothing crazy or dangerous, just people who enjoyed motorcycles as weekend stress relief. Started seeing Jennifer about 6 weeks after divorce decree finalized. We met through riding group. She worked supply chain logistics for J&J's medical device division. Owned her house outright in East Brunswick. Drove paid-off car she'd bought with cash. The first thing that impressed me about her was her motorcycle. 2020 Honda CB650R that she'd bought new and maintained herself. She could talk carburetors and spoke suspension tuning like she actually knew what she was talking about. It was refreshing being with someone who contributed equally to joint activities, instead of expecting subsidization for personal development projects. The house felt completely mine again. Quiet, organized, with garage space available for motorcycle maintenance instead of storing someone else's expensive art supplies. 6 months after divorce decree, I was in the driveway on Saturday morning doing routine chain maintenance on the Yamaha. We typically rode freehold Englishtown Scenic Loop on Saturdays, about 45 miles of winding back roads through farmland and state forest. Zach was in the garage checking tire pressure on his own bike when Chloe's car pulled up to the curb around 9:30 a.m. But this wasn't Roxy driving, this was Carmen, and she looked pissed. Chloe approached cautiously across the front lawn. She looked desperate, thinner, stressed, like life hadn't been going according to plan. Hunter, I know I hurt you badly, but I've learned so much about myself over these past months. I'm ready to be the wife you deserved from the beginning. Can we try again? I continued working on chain tension adjustment, not looking up from the rear sprocket. Reached into the toolbox and retrieved thin manila envelope I'd prepared weeks earlier, anticipating this eventual conversation. Handed an envelope to her without stopping maintenance work or making eye contact. "What's this?" she asked, opening the envelope. "Receipt. Your text saying you were moving out, plus a signed manifest from when you picked up your stuff." She saw a printout of original text, stapled to pickup documentation with Zach's witness signature. Return windows closed. But instead of leaving, she stood there reading through the papers, and I could see her face getting red. "You saved all this. You planned this whole thing. You did this so you get rid of me." "Right, of course." I finally looked up from the bike. "What exactly is your point being here anyways? You never fought for me. You just accepted it. What kind of husband does that?" And there it was. The real issue. She hadn't wanted to leave. She'd wanted me to beg her to stay. "You cheated, Chloe. You still got the nerve to talk?" "But I was confused. I was going through something. You were supposed to stop me." "Stop you?" Carmen had gotten out of the car and was walking over. "Hunter, she's been through hell these past months. Trevor used her. The art world rejected her. She lost her job. She's learned her lesson." I went back to working on the chain. "Good. How can you be so cold?" Chloe was getting louder now. "We were married. That has to mean something. It meant something when you threw it away via text message. Now it means paperwork." That's when she really lost it. Started screaming about how I was heartless and never really loved her, and how I was punishing her for one mistake. Our Carmen was trying to calm her down, but Chloe was spiraling. "You destroyed my life. You could have fought for me, but you chose to be vindictive. This is all your fault." Zach had come out of the garage and was recording everything on his phone. Smart move. "You know what your problem is, Hunter? You never really loved me. You just wanted someone to control. When I tried to grow as a person, you couldn't handle it. You're pathetic." I finished tightening the chain and stood up, wiping my hands on a rag. Looked at her directly for the first time since she'd arrived. "You're right about one thing, Chloe. I never loved you. Not the real you anyway. Turns out the real you is someone who throws away her marriage for a married man's attention, then blames her ex-husband when it goes sideways. That's not someone worth loving." The look on her face was pure shock. "I loved who I thought you were. That person never existed. I was married to a bitch." Carmen grabbed Chloe's arm. "Come on, honey, let's go." But Chloe wasn't done. "You'll regret this. You'll never find anyone better than me. I hope you die alone." I looked at Jennifer's text on my phone reminding me about our dinner plans that evening. "Already found better. Thanks for the motivation." They drove away with Chloe screaming out the window. I went back to finishing the chain maintenance. Zach came over with his phone still recording. "Damn, dude. She completely lost her shit." I finished chain maintenance, wiped down bike with microfiber cloth, and we headed out for regular Saturday ride. Perfect weather for it. Clear skies, 72 degrees, light traffic on back roads. That evening, I showed Jennifer the video Zach had taken. She watched the whole thing with this amazed expression. "That's insane." "Yeah, bullet dodged." Chloe had wanted space to find herself as an artist. She found out she wasn't one. Roxy had wanted to live vicariously through her sister's dramatic relationship choices. She got stuck managing aftermath when everything collapsed. Sometimes the best response is taking people at their word and allowing them to experience natural consequences of their choices. Problems solved themselves once I stopped trying to prevent predictable outcomes. Jennifer and I have been together 8 months now. We're talking about moving in together, but we're taking it slow and doing it right. Separate finances until we're sure. clear communication about expectations, respect for each other's boundaries, everything Chloe couldn't handle. Last I heard, Chloe was still living with her mother and working retail, still telling anyone who'll listen that I ruined her life and never really loved her. But I don't think about her much anymore. Hard to miss someone who never really existed in the first place.